Hello, American literature students. Here to wrap up our time with Lydia Sigourney. I think it was time very well spent. She has sort of been revived. She was very popular during her time period, and people are starting to study her again. And it's always it was a challenge for many years to find any women writers to talk about from this time period. When I was a student, they were just sort of being rediscovered, and I'm glad because they're just as good as the men, I'll tell you that. So she makes for a nice pairing with Longfellow. So we're going to talk about Indian names, and of course where we live there are a number of Indian names. On each side of the river here in Columbia County we have Taconic, spelled a couple different ways over here. And over on the Greene County side we have Coxsackie, and I'm going to read to you from the Village of Coxsackie website. The name Coxsackie comes from an Algonquin Indian word believed to mean place of owls, migrating geese, or cut rocks. Coxsackie's been spelled different ways before its present day spelling. So, and then it goes into several different spellings. So I don't know if that's true or not. I have no reason to dispute that. However, native names do often get altered and changed, and the website here offers a number of different spellings for Coxsackie. So I'm sure there's some truth in there. Now, I'm the town historian of Ghent, as many of you know, and there's a certain part of Ghent near the Ogowamek Creek and North Creek and the Clover Creek, sort of north of there. County 9, Ghent-Mellonville Road for the Ghentites in the class. But I want you to know Squampamok. So a lot of people say, oh, that's Squampamok. It means where two waters meet. I'm like, all right, you know. So as a kid, I always heard that, and then I got skeptical after reading this poem. Like, you know, are we white people just using Native American names because we think it's cool, even though our ancestors and we continue to treat them rather badly? So when I actually had lunch with Mr. Starna, who wrote the book on Mohicans who lived in Squampamok, I said, have you ever heard the name Squampamok? And he hadn't. But he has a friend at the Smithsonian Institute, the leading scholar on earth for Mohican language, and he sent down that word. And we got back, the expert said, it sort of has a Mohican Algonquin feel to it, but something's missing there. And I've seen it spelled many ways. So anyway, why am I talking about this? I'm always... You know, these names, they stick with us. She's using it as a symbol that we should be reminded of the natives who were here before us. But I also kind of feel like we're stealing it when we use it. And you don't have to look any further than, say, the Washington Redskins, NFL team, using a derogatory name for Native Americans for many years, are finally going to change it. We don't know to what yet. I haven't heard. Atlanta Braves, less offensive. Baseball team Cleveland Indians, not terribly offensive. However, they do have a caricature. Oahu is his name, and he's a character. Big teeth, smile, and a feather. So, you know, sports teams taking Native American names, you know, it's important things to think about. So anyway, let's look here. Indian names. How can the red men be forgotten while so many of our states and territories, bays, lakes, and rivers are indelibly stamped by their names of their giving? So again, she's saying, people, we can't forget them. And this was written in 1834, where she was living here in the Northeast. It was pretty easy to forget that they were ever even here. And she's saying, how can we? We still have their names. Their memory is everywhere. I would go as far as to say the whole place is like a tombstone for them, the way we drop the names around. You say they have all passed away, that noble race and brave, that their light canoes have vanished from off the crested wave, that mid the forests where they roamed, there rings no hunter's shout, but their name is on your waters, ye may not wash it out. So very positive images that she uses here. They may be gone, but their mark has been left. The name has been left, and we stole it. 'Tis where Ontario's billow, like ocean's surge, is curled, where strong Niagara's thunder, Niagara Falls, wake the echo of the world, where red Missouri bringeth rich tribute from the west, and Rappahannock sweetly sleeps on green Virginia's breast. So some Native American terms there. Virginia is not Native American. Ye say they're cone-like cabins, teepees, that ye, she's saying to you, the reader, that clustered o'er the vale have fled away like withered leaves before the autumn gale. But their memory liveth on your hills, their baptism on your shore. Your everlasting rivers speak their dialect of yore. They are always with us. They are always with us. Old Massachusetts wears it within her lordly crown, and broad Ohio bears it amid his young renown. Connecticut hath wreathed it, where her quiet foliage waves, and bold Kentucky breathed it hoarse through all her ancient caves. So native names are everywhere. Wachusett, native name, hides its lingering voice within his rocky heart, and Allegheny graves its tone throughout his lofty chart. Monadnock on his forehead hoar, silver gray, doth seal the sacred trust. Your mountains build their monument, though ye destroy their dust. Your mountains build their monument, the tribute to what's gone, a monument to them. And of course, very famously, the highest point in the United States of America is Denali. For many years it was called Mount McKinley in Alaska, but naming it after a president of the United States when it was sort of sacred to Native Americans, it's now been changed to Denali. And now you can get a General Motors vehicle called a Denali. I don't know Ye call these red-brown brethren the insects of an hour, crushed like the noteless worm amid the regions of their power. Ye drive them from their father's land, ye break of fate the seal. But can ye from the court of heaven exclude their last appeal? So she's again appealing to Christian values. So if you're writing an essay or something on an essay exam about Lydia Howard Huntley Sigourney, she certainly would have broad appeal because of the universal themes of her poems and Christian values that she professes. Now, sticking up for Native Americans, less controversial than Longfellow sticking up for slaves, because as she notes in her poem, at least in this region of the country, they were pretty well gone. Ye see their unresisting tribes with sad, very sad. You see their unresisting tribes with toilsome step and slow, on through the tactless desert pass, a caravan of woe. So, think ye the Eternal's ear is deaf, the Eternal's ear, God. Do you think God's ear is deaf? His sleepless vision dim? Think ye the soul's blood may not cry from that far land to him? So God, she ends up the poem with, God is watching, God is noting how we treat these Native Americans. So she is literally invoking the power of God and his, she uses the his, I don't know if God's a man or a woman, the threat of what he will do if we do not do better with the way we treat Native Americans. And this is something that has gone unheeded right up to today. So Lydia Sigourney sticking up for Native Americans in the most bold of terms. Their mark is still on nature, at least the name is still on many aspects of mountains and rivers and places around here as well. So I hope you enjoyed your time with Lydia Sigourney. As I said in the last video, it's great to have her as a part of class because she's great. Not just because, hey, we've got to get women in. It is important. That is important. But I think she is as worthy of study, as representative of the time period of what she wrote about, and like Longfellow, immensely popular. Remember, we're studying. Here's a good book for you, The Social Lives of Poems in the 19th Century. The Social Lives of Poems in the 19th Century. Shortly after her time period, and then more into Longfellow's poetry, was the most popular literary form in America. The money that she made tells you how popular she was, right? Movies are popular now. Tom Hanks has a lot of money. Steven Spielberg is a billionaire, right? Because movies are big. Poetry was big in the 19th century, and that's why they made a lot of money. So we're studying these voices, authentic voices from the 19th century, but we're also reading things that people read and consumed, that people spent money on, okay? So this is a great way to learn about the people of the time period. Just like 100 years from now, people might watch The Bachelor and The Bachelorette, God forbid, and they'll know something about us, that those shows have been on for, I think, 20 years now. Crazy, right? So they'll learn a lot about us. Someone will write a paper 100 years from now. The Bachelor and Bachelorette meet the Walking Dead. People of the early 2000s, just like we're studying this. God help us.